What's up, beautiful people? We're back with another episode of Small Talk. So today we got, two great peoples. We got Tommy, he is usually here. Yeah. My brother, he's back. And we got Ebony. Ebony, what's up?
Hello.
How is everything?
Good.
Welcome to the Small Talk. We needed to get, different perspectives. Me and Tommy were thinking, we're like, all right, we want to get someone who, we need to find someone who can speak, first of all. So I knew because you're on radio, you could speak. Right, so that's one,
right,
and
we'll
someone who's sort of in the know. So, thank you for being here. How you doing?
Thank you for having me. I feel anxious.
Why do you feel anxious? Why?
I don't know. I think because podcasts, you just can say whatever you want. It's a bit unfiltered, and I'm like very opinionated.
Yeah, well, that's good, man. We could. We were saying 30, 40 minutes, but if you guys want to get to an hour. Yeah. I'm ready for this marathon. Tommy, what's up, man? How's your week? What's the vibrations?
I've been busy, man. So we got OTG shooting on Sunday and Monday.
Yeah.
So that's another video coming up soon. Starting a little business on the side as well.
Okay, I like multi.
We'll get to it later on. Maybe late in the end of the year or so.
Yeah.
But yeah, for people who don't know, or we haven't really briefly explained what Small Talk is.
Yeah.
So it's not just going to be me. It's going to be obviously me and Tina as recurring people, but obviously having guests like Ebony, and everyone else, who's on a specific scene or not, which is facilitate an open round discussion. Mm-hmm. So open floor, so no anxiousness, just more of if you got opinions, that's the better. We try not to spin anything.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Man, I'm terrible. I just do the shit raw.
Yeah,
I didn't cut nothing.
That's how it should be.
Yeah,
that's how our podcast is.
But yeah, so man, Tommy, I like that, man. I can tell you've been practicing your intros. Right. I like that. I like that.
Just in the mirror and that.
Just the mirror. But yeah, I think the whole point of Small Talk is just not only, I think people, and just in general, I think people misinterpret the Dinner Truth to be just like music. But we also want to get people in different places. So if you're dope, if you're doing your thing, boom, Small Talk sort of the platform for it. But let's get straight into it, man. So the first thing that I want to do is, so I've been putting out some questions on the Dinner Truth and a lot of topics that people want to have a conversation about with people. Mm-hmm. And I thought that you would be perfect for this because I feel like you're sort of in it. Right? Okay. So let me give it. So shout out to Jack Nielsen who sent this question. I apologize if I'm messing up your name. I apologize. But he wanted to get our thoughts on sort of the upcoming artists, engineers, and producers that are sort of coming out of Western Sydney, and I guess let's just say rap music in general. Let's not put it to Western Sydney.
Okay.
So I guess what are your thoughts on it and working at radio? Because for people who don't know, she works over at Triple J. So what are your sort of thoughts and what have you sort of seen over the last year and a half when it comes to sort of the hip hop industry, rap industry, and sort of?
Can I ask you?
Okay. Yeah.
Can I ask you your thoughts first?
Yeah, okay. My thoughts are this. I think that a lot of people are making the best out of the situation in terms of, I think I'd rather people are producing art rather than doing things that are non-constructive. So I can't hate on that.
Totally,
And I think that for anything I think that eventually things are definitely going to get better.
Yeah.
And my whole philosophy is that even if let's say I don't like their music, I'm not a hater because I feel like everyone grows and everything will get better and better. But I think that now definitely there are a lot more artists than let's just say 2 years ago, and there's a lot more diversity in terms of the artists and the rap and the artists and the music coming out as well. I think that Australia is sort of at like a very it's not entry level, but it's it's really at the beginning. So
it's premature, man.
Yeah, it's premature. So there's not as many platforms as there are that really sort of push artists. So therefore there's only a few, and because there's only a few people who you can contact. So that sort of creates like a bottleneck, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So that's sort of my thoughts on it. But look, I think everything's improving.
Do you? Okay, so from the sound of it, to be honest, it sounds like you feel like we have a really long way to still go.
Yeah, I feel like we've got like 10 years really to sort of get there.
Do you feel like that, not just with the media, but with artists, like they need to up their game?
Well, look, most definitely. I think that the music scene will go as fast as the artist. But as a human being or as an artist in general, whatever art you do, it takes time. And it's like, you can't just, let's just say you've been doing something for 6 months and think that you're and think that, you know, you're going to be at the best of your craft.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, even with the podcasting thing, it's like, yo, I've only been doing this for a short period of time. So there's a lot of things that I need to improve in my craft, and I know that.
Yeah.
But a lot of that stuff actually just comes with consistency of work, right? And I feel like that's with a lot of artists as well. It will just come with the consistency of work. But to answer your question, yeah, there needs to be a little bit more, like, you know, source and, you know, like a little bit creativity, because at the end of the day, I think right now everyone's making drill music. Ain't nothing wrong with making drill music, you know, because everyone's doing their thing. Ain't nothing wrong with that. But it's like, it becomes, now everyone's doing it.
Now everyone's jumping on drill music. I hear
now
you.
it becomes very, very saturated, and everything sounds the same.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And then after about 30 videos every week,
It's
at the
watered
station,
down,
it becomes watered down, you know. And look, me and Tommy have been talking about this for a minute, and people have been saying, "Oh, we're haters," and I'm just like, look, fam, if you want me to lie, I can lie.
Look, for
Like, you know what I mean?
Look,
do you want me to lie?
like-
you want me to lie? I'll
like
lie.
for me, like if like OTG, like we're in the drill scene, you know, OTG, like we're literally in the rap scene, and that's what I'm seeing so far as well. And we said this, like you're right, we said this on the first episode of Small Talk, and then I got some messages, you know, I ain't gonna say who, but you know, it is what it is, man. People starting to call me out, you know, but it's alright. It's alright. Look, like for me, I just feel
because
like,
it comes from a good place,
Yeah.
and you know who you are, so it's never hate. It's always love.
I just feel like I said before, man. To clarify, there's a bubble. It's really just a bubble right now, and I'm not talking about, you know, the whole music scene itself in Australia, because obviously music's always been there for Australia, but specifically in rap,
Or hip-hop.
It's in hip hop, you know, and more, you know, drilling down to just the drill genre. I feel like every up and coming artist right now is just coming up with drill. It's the same videos, same recycled bars, you know, same aesthetic, the same drip, everything is the same. So like obviously shit's gonna get watered down, and I feel like we got, you know, certain, you know, industry people or certain bodies who are inflating that bubble so much, where like now it's just grossly misrepresenting what the Australian rap scene is.
Wait, divulge into that a little more.
Well, before
does
you
that
divulge
mean?
into that, you curve that question.
Do you want me? Okay,
we gotta get you. We gotta get you.
Okay, I hear you.
Okay.
Drill is the biggest thing in Australia right now, and I think it's because Australia is so young. Like, as you said, it's like at its early stages. Drills come up, we can hear people who sound like us. They're rapping and they're talking about things that we can relate to. It's not just barbecues and the beach and whatever else. You know what I mean? It's stuff that people are identifying with, and they're like, this is cool. They sound like me, and this is cool. And they're in Mount Druitt, and I grew up in places like that. And this is suddenly Western Sydney is a cool thing to rap. And like, so it's exciting. And like, I think, when someone sees someone doing something that's working, they're going to be like, okay, that's how you do it. Like, that's cool.
That's the formula.
Absolutely. And so I think it's interesting that you're with the drill sort of scene and you're like, this is played out. I'm over it.
Yeah, it's not like I'm over it. I feel like, look, if you look at UK, the drill scene in UK, like obviously it started very, you know, raw drill beats, and then obviously you're seeing artists evolve into different types of sounds of drill. So you're looking at Heady One, for example. He started pure drill, and then now like his sound started to, you know, curate itself a little bit more, and that's how drill is evolving in UK. I feel like right now in Australia, it's because it's so premature, and you do have a point, but obviously people are still figuring their sounds out. You know, people who are starting off is obviously going to sound like that. But I just feel like right now it's being pushed to the limit where it's basically just over-representing what Australian rap is. Australian rap is not just drill. You got other artists, other independent artists below that as well, who are just not being represented the same in the scene, which then means it's misrepresenting what, you know, the scene looks like to anyone else who's not in the scene. So anyone international, anyone who's interstate, anyone who's not, you know, specifically looking at drill, they just look into rap in Australia, like, oh, that's
what it
it's
is.
just one specific subgenre in rap.
But there's other different rappers.
There's other independent artists out there who are not getting the
They're
same.
not getting the same
attention as
limelight.
well.
And I get that,
man.
man. Some of them, like my other homies who make sort of rap music, but that's not necessarily drill. They sort of have the same perspective as you, where it's like, yeah, dope. You know, you can't hate on anyone doing what they do, but at the same time, it's like it sort of overshadows people who make rap music that's not drill.
Exactly.
You know, they don't necessarily get the limelight that they deserve, even if they're making just as better.
Yeah, and it trips me out is like because artists who, you know, release, you know, their rap music, and then suddenly it gets categorized as drill, and like the beat ain't drill, the lyrics are not drill, so how can you say it's drill? You know, so I feel like it's so intertwined now because, like I said, we're very premature and the audience is very premature as well. They just think that everything released is drill.
Yeah.
It's like there's different subgenres in rap rather than just drill in Australia. And I feel like we're going to get to that point, like I said in the last podcast, maybe next year or so, like people start realizing, you know, as soon as more artists come up, more industry, you know, bodies are going to come up, obviously, as well as the scene grows. There's going to be different categories within the rap scene. And I feel like that's how it should be. And I feel we're going towards that stage.
This is probably a because I hate being that numbers dude, man. I hate numbers dude.
No, I hear you. I hear you.
Right now, if you look at where majority of the traction is, and look, you might be right. It might just be a lot of just clout. And you know what? The thing about drill, this is sort of getting off the topic that we're talking about. The audience is quite young.
Yeah.
Right. I'm gonna keep it 100 with you. My 40-year-old brother can't listen to drill music. Why? Because he's not living that lifestyle. He's not in the streets. You know, so it only sort of attracts itself to a certain group of people.
Yeah.
It's a very small niche. And I think that goes back to what you were saying a couple of times when you're talking about the bubble that we're in. And this, I think it might go for any industry that you're in. You know, sometimes you're in an industry, sometimes even if let's say if you're working in HR, you're working in marketing, or you're in the music industry, you forget that you're actually in a circle and there's like a larger world once you step outside the circle. So I think it goes back to what you were talking about initially about the bubble that we're in and us trying to, I wouldn't say cater music for the general public because people always come to whatever music. You don't have to cater really for the general public.
Sounds good, man. That's what it is.
But we're definitely in a bubble. If that makes sense. And I think it's just sort of stepping outside the bubble and just like,
especially
seeing what's there.
This is Western Sydney. Do you know what I mean? We grew up in Western Sydney, and I think there's a novelty in being able to say like Western Sydney's doing really
it's
good.
hot right now.
It's hot right now. Like, do you know what I mean? It's a buzzword. They love that. Yeah, so if the media is rinsing it a little bit, I think that's probably what it has to do with as well.
I've been seeing some motherfuckers who have no business talking about Western Sydney.
Yeah, bro.
Like talking about, and for me, I hate on that. I just think it's just so interesting.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it's so interesting how like in the last 3 years, you think a culture has sort of think about like Western Sydney culture is national now. Whether you like it or not, or whether you really believe it.
Yeah.
You got people around Australia copying words that you grew up saying that people used to dish you think you're weird for saying. Do you get what I'm saying? I always get about that. That for me is always the big one.
Or wearing the area tees and they grew up on the North Shore or something.
Yeah,
it's
really?
That's cool. That's cool.
That's cool.
I mean, like that's how we're growing and shit. But,
yeah. I was watching this. This is a YouTuber. I forgot the homie's name, and he did this thing where he went over to like Chatswood Mall, like the mall, and he was talking to kids that go to a private school, and then he was asking him, you know, what do you think about Western Sydney? And these kids are from North Shore, like Chatswood, and then the kid's like, oh, you know, there's a bunch of Ishais there. And I'm like, oh, I'm thinking, what's it like in the terms of context of what he's talking about? How does it mesh? How does it mesh what he's talking about? And then I kept hearing him talk, and then I think that he was referring to lads, but this is like the new generation. Like they've totally without having an understanding of what the culture is, they've completely taken it, flipped it, turned it to this other thing. And then now it's out here in Chatswood. And you have kids in the North Shore talking about it. That's just the natural things of when things are growing, right? Like, I mean, shit gets all messy and stuff, but over time it refines itself. You know what I mean? Like, obviously, Western Sydney was always Western Sydney, and then we're going to now for your example, Chatswood. People start to throw the words out like it's a fucking word salad. Yeah, no context whatsoever. Yeah. But like, we're there. We are getting it. I mean, like it is there. People are now shifting their attention to us. You know, so Ebony, what type of who are you liking right now in terms of artists, producers, engineers?
Producers. Oh, from like just Australia generally.
In Australia in general, yeah.
Sophia out of Melbourne is sick.
Yeah, Sophia. Yeah.
She's really dope. There's an R&B duo called Big Words that I just discovered that are so sick. From? Melbourne. Shout out Melbourne. Melbourne. Melbourne's on it.
I give Blake Key. They got some cool artists.
Melbourne's on it. There's a girl called Pookie.
Pookie, yeah.
Sick. Like, I don't even know how I came across it. I think it's Unearthed. Like, the Unearthed team at Triple J are on it, bro. Every week, straight up. Every week I hit them. I'm like, what's hot? What do I need to be across? And they'll send me a massive list and I just go through and listen. And 3K out of Melbourne. Like, I'm just shouting out Melbourne, but 3K out of Melbourne are sick. They're like, these Asian and black kids, and they've just got such a cool, interesting sound.
Yeah.
Those are some of them.
What about some producers, engineers? We got to give them some love.
Some producers.
Shout out to all the producers, engineers. Shout out to you guys been hitting me up heavily, trying to get me on the producers, engineers.
Producers, y'all do the hard work.
Yeah,
man.
shout out to producers, engineers. Yeah.
Some producers I'm into. Is it Golly out of Western Sydney?
Yeah.
Is that how you say his name?
Yeah.
Sully.
Okay,
Yeah.
I've literally only seen him on Twitter, and he posted a remix of a 1/4 track, and I hit him and was like,
he does.
"You're
Sully's cool. He's actually a very good dude.
I've never met him.
He's actually a very nice guy, man. He's been cool. I met him a couple times, man. Cool dude. Real fan of music too. Like he just likes music, man. He's a cool dude. Yeah.
That's sick.
He's dope. I saw the mixes you're talking about. Yeah. He chops it up and he's like, where'd you
he's
get this
cool
from?
with it.
Yeah,
he's cool. Kabu,
that's my guy. Man. Yeah, he's good. He's good. That's
sick.
my guy.
He's sick.
Shout out Tim. Shout out the whole collective. Yeah.
I'm trying to think who else. Who else? I mean, Zanny Wolf, he makes some like cool ballet sort of stuff. I don't know. Like, who should I be across? Am I on it or no?
Nah, you're on it. You're on it. Well, the question really was where I was stemming from was, if you look at the come up of a lot of artists, like we were talking about 21 Savage, like especially with his come up. With his come up, he had a really good producer, had Metro Boomin with him, right? A lot of artists, especially on the come up, they partner with a lot of producers and it helps develop the sound.
Totally.
Yeah. So I was just thinking that, I was talking to my other homie Stan, and we were talking about how like, I think that's something that's really needed right now. I think a lot of people have to put a lot more attention or limelight on the producers, because the producers and the artists, they come together. They pioneer a whole different sound.
Totally.
I'm starting to see it now. Like, shout out Solo, he's doing his thing.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of really good producers now that I feel like they got to get a little bit more attention. They got to get a little more limelight.
Yeah, I guess it's hard. Like at this stage, everything's been done. Really, I mean, it's not like we're in the Timbaland era where you can. Or Dr. Dre, or even like with the original UK sort of jungle grime, like they have a sound.
A specific
very
sound.
Specific sound. It's very hard now to come up with an Australian very specific sound. Even drill, I mean.
It's not, yeah.
It's a little,
I was telling a homie.
Borrowed.
I was telling the homie, I was like, well, look, if you take every music scene around the world and you just take out drill, a lot of the countries, they have a sound that they can go back to. Like, for example, if you take away drill from the UK, they still got garage. Like they still got still got something to go to if you take that away. Yeah. I think that's what's missing here. We gotta, and that's why I keep trying to emphasize the importance of producers, because they're really going to pioneer that sound.
Totally.
Because let's just say tomorrow we wake up, drill's gone.
Yeah.
Okay, what now?
Yeah.
It's techie for a lot of people. Like it's techie. Yeah.
I think it's interesting. Even there's songs like, I remember when No Money Enterprise put out German. And I was like, I heard it for the first time. I was like, this is so hard. Like I love this. Someone else was like, why are these kids rapping about German cars on a Spanish beat? And they're Australians though. Like what? Do you know what I mean? And so for some people it's jarring. It's like, we need an Australian sound. We need something that I was like, this is hard.
It's hard.
Like, this bangs. I don't really care. But for some people, it's definitely a case of like, we need to find that sound.
Yeah, like it seems too early, man. So like, obviously, when it seems too early, there's a lack of producers, or producers are still trying to find their sound now. It's like, what's specific to Australia?
Yeah.
But you know what it is? I'm not even gonna cap. Like, if I was in high school. And us, if let's say if we were all of us in this room, right? If we went through high school while this was happening, we would be way more enticed to be more in the creative field. I'm not sure about you guys, but I remember growing up, the only reason why I didn't pursue more heavily a career in the music field, or I didn't like commit to as much as I did, because I didn't see anyone doing it. Yeah, do you know what I mean? So now you're actually seeing artists, you're seeing some managers, you're starting to see sort of a
that you can make a structure. You
can do you can do something out of it. So I think definitely, watch out for this next generation, these young boys, young girls coming out right now. I think they're going to be the ones who like really,
they're going to be making it, man. And it's a good time for I mean, not just the creative side as well. I mean, the business side.
The business
you
side
got
too.
Labels, you got magazines, you got media outlets.
Yeah.
Obviously, it's very. There's not many so far. You know what I mean? And it's obviously it's increasing as the scene grows, and I feel like the next generation is going to be capitalized on a lot. A lot of labels going to be signing you and stuff. But just remember, man, we're moving towards an independent stage. You can do anything you need to do through distribution. Yeah, you can source your own independent distribution, man. Just look it up, guys. You know, like I feel like labels these days, obviously.
Man, you've been literally reading this Kanye tweets, haven't you?
Hey, man,
you're reading the Kanye. You know that tip? I went you.
You know his contracts that he was leaking. I saved every single one. It fucking took me half an hour. I was like, fuck, save. Maybe this comes out later, you know.
Yeah.
But like you never know, Kanye. You might get cancelled, might get deleted. You never know. So you might as well save that shit. But
what did you get out of that? What did you get out of that whole moment?
What, the label?
Yeah, like I guess. Look, I think when you're talking about like music labels in general, I think that you got to remember that music labels are a business.
I got nothing against labels. I mean, it's the value proposition is there. We got the platform, we got the connections, we got the resources to put you up on a higher level. You know what I mean? And that your music has to be good. But they do have their value proposition as well. But I feel like these days, because of social media, because you got so many independent distributors coming up as well, like all it is, like you can literally put your music up through a distributor and your music's out on different platforms. Yeah. You know what I mean? And obviously you got to push your own marketing. But I feel like back to the question is what did I get out of Kanye's contracts? It's literally just saying that the trend is independence. I mean, you got bodies like United Masters as well. They're always pushing content. There's always pushing independent and own your own masters and stuff like that. But yeah, man, I feel like that's just the trend that we're seeing towards it. Like some people don't need labels anymore. Yeah, that's just how it is. But yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like you're gonna be seeing a lot of independent labels coming up as well as the scene grows. Yeah. You know, so yeah.
What do you think about Ebony?
What I think about Kanye?
Yeah.
I mean, I think he's not saying anything that hasn't been said before.
Yeah.
You know, I think.
I'm with you. Yeah, I'm with you.
But I love Kanye.
Yeah.
I love Kanye. Huge Kanye fan.
Cool. All right, we gotta move on to the next topic. So, did you watch The Social Dilemma?
I did.
Okay, what were your thoughts on it?
What were my thoughts? It was pretty confronting. It was kind of dark.
Yeah, it had a very dark undertone. Like, yeah.
I was kind of in a weird mood and I was thinking, oh gosh, I've got to watch this thing. I kind of want to watch cartoons. It's making me feel a bit bleak. Yeah, it was pretty confronting, to be honest. I found it quite confronting, especially sort of just the psychology that goes behind making us use our apps for so long. Like something that sort of stuck with me was the whole feature where you pull down Instagram and it's sort of like it's sort of meant to simulate a gambling machine where you pull down the slots and it's like, are you going to get a prize and are you going to get a new photo or not? Yeah. And I do that all the time. I'll just refresh it. I'll refresh it and I'll be like, is it going to happen or not? Or even your phone sitting there and you're like, am I going to get it? Should I just check? Like, let me just check really. Like, that's crazy. We all do that stuff. Do you know what I mean? Or how they were talking about with Facebook and they came up with the tagged photo idea. And it's like, of course, if someone tags you in a photo, you're like, I've got to see this photo. And they could have just shown us the photo, but they've made it so you go in and you stay in the app for ages looking at these photos and what. It's just crazy the psychology behind it. And I've never really deeped it. You know, like you can think about marketing and advertising and stuff and it's like, of course they're trying to sell us stuff. Like, it's a given. But all of that sort of like the colors that are used and just like that was crazy to me.
You know what? Like watching the documentary, everything that they were saying, everyone sort of understood it in a certain capacity. Yeah. But one thing that got me was what was that quote about the product? If you are, I have to get this right.
Just paraphrasing, man.
Is it like if you're not paying for it, you're the product?
If you're not paying for it, you are the product.
Yeah.
And then I looked at myself like, motherfucker, they got me. Like, they got me right now, you know? Yeah. And it's just changed my whole perception of social media because I'm not really heavy on it. Like, for example, if I go on your Instagram, I am not thinking that this is you. You get what I mean? I'm not saying that I am not going to judge you off your social media because I know that is a poor representation of who you are.
Are you sure?
I'd rather get to know who you are as a person.
Right.
So, for example, if I go on Tommy's Instagram and I see him posting photos of cars and shit like that, I'm not going to assume that you're rich because I know this is all a facade either way. Do you get what I'm
Do you
saying?
post cars?
Nah, what the fuck?
That's shot to you. That's shot.
It's not
That's
on my
shot to
Instagram.
you.
What the fuck are you about? Like 6 photos.
Yeah, but you know what I mean. Like if I go in your gram and I say something, I'm not gonna actually take it seriously. For me, social media is not serious. Like I'm not going to argue with someone at my grown ass age on social media.
You might be a rare case, man, because a lot of people.
Yeah, people do that.
Social media is misinformation, man. A lot.
You get that? Because I'm telling you, I don't take it seriously. I feel like I should take it more seriously than a lot of people, but it's like I feel like people are now making social media their real life. And I get it if social media is, for example, you have a business of social media and then that's how you actually make income. Yeah. You have to take it seriously, like, because that's your business. I get that. But if you're generally not doing anything on Instagram and it's just sort of like you're not doing anything on Instagram, like you need to have a real life as well. Yeah. And that's sort of the way that I see it. But I think I might just be like a random anomaly in all this because I don't take that shit seriously.
I think one part of social dilemma is I mean like this is coming from experience. From a guy that works in one of the big tech companies. I ain't gonna name which one because
this guy finessing.
I try to get canceled.
Yeah, at work. Yeah, they'll find.
Anyway, I work in one of the major big tech companies, and obviously I'm always around it. Right, I'm selling this shit, and I see the use of data, and I know what it looks like. And I think social dilemma really pressed on one thing. It's like commercial. Yeah, it's like. Capitalism with it. It's big data, man. If anyone's never heard the quote, it's data is the new oil, and it really is because they get every information about you. They can personalize your experience, tailor the content that you like over time by learning what you like, your preferences. And I feel like that itself, like I got no problem with it. And I feel like that's the new way of how companies should be going. And if you're not using data and you're not data driven, you're going to be washed out.
You're going to fall behind.
Every industry data is going to be there because it's just, that's how it is. But I feel like the other side of that as well is obviously you got data and for commercial benefits, it works. But then you also got data that is misinforming the audience as well. So like as a social media user, I'm reading my news, right? And I feel social dilemma says as well, like fake news spreads 6 times faster than real news. So it's just big misinformation going on. I feel like one of the biggest threats of the 21st century.
People love to be entertained, man. If the lie is entertaining, it's entertaining.
Like
you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. One of the biggest threats of our generation, and specifically millennials, is that it's just misinformation. We're walking through just propaganda. We've always been learned and taught about propaganda in school, but we've been taught the traditional ways of propaganda. Oh, someone's going to force you down on the posters, the TV commercials, this and that. But like now it's just information. You're just reading shit that you think is true that might not be true. You got statistics that are out there to support as a specific narrative that might not be true if you look at behind the statistics and how that that number was being collected. So I feel like misinformation is a big thing, and right now millennials specifically, we're just walking through this propaganda without even knowing it, and we're just thinking, oh shit, this is actually some information about.
When you're talking about misinformation, what in particular? If you can be specific to like a couple of things.
What's a good one? All right, let's say Trump. Yeah, Trump for one.
I knew he was going to. This I led him to this. I led him to that.
What do you think we should discuss?
You know me, man.
Yeah, I know. You know me. I say that. Now, and you know what? Can I just give a shout out to a couple people?
Yeah.
Shout out Rowan because she privately messaged me. She was like, "Hey, can you get Tommy to talk about it?" So here we are.
That is so funny.
Yeah. Look, man, like just for this lens, and we can talk about Trump. I don't know. You can go on about it, but look. I feel like Trump is the biggest victim of misinformation, but he does it to himself. The shit that he says is so easily spun. You know what I mean? Like, Trump has never said that COVID was a hoax. Ever.
What did he say then?
He always just said that it wasn't a bigger deal. He was always downplaying that shit. Like, oh, we're gonna flatten the curve by April. We're gonna, we're gonna be tremendous. It's gonna be the best, response ever. But he never said it was a hoax. Ever. But then some guy on Twitter says it's a hoax. Next thing you know, everybody's retweeting it because they got this specific agenda in their head already. But it's a hoax. Trump said it's a hoax. So everybody's just retweeting this shit.
So do you think that's an issue with people?
It's
not doing their research when something comes out. Do you think that's the issue that people just don't do their research?
I think it's an issue that people are not doing the research. And even when you're doing your research, to say Trump COVID hoax on Google or something, the first articles that you read is supporting what you just try and research. You know what I mean? So it doesn't really lay down the truth of, you know, what they actually say, because they can easily spin that shit.
Misinformation.
I just feel like misinformation is a big thing right now. And like I said before in the first podcast, fact checking is the hardest bit in social media, because you got all these fact checking outlets right now. You know what I mean? Or what Trump said is false. What Biden said is true. What Biden said is false. But then it's like, how do you fact check everything when you got statistics everywhere? When someone can give you numbers and data to support a specific point, then you think, okay, that is true.
Yeah.
But then you also got the other side who's giving you the same statistics, same numbers to counteract that
what
point.
you're saying.
And then now you got a social media platform such as Facebook now, where you're seeing where I don't know if you ever go through Instagram or Facebook now, it's like, oh, this post is not true.
Yeah, that's crazy.
It's like a grey thing. It blurs it. It's like, this is false information.
Yeah.
Beware.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
I've
have you ever
seen
seen
that.
Nah.
I've only seen the restricted content.
Yeah. So there was this one part where Alexa, the app.
Yeah.
Well, Alexa, some guy was like, oh, Alexa's, she's CIA, she's listening to us. Obviously, Facebook, then he posted that video of him talking to Alexa, and he's like, oh, this is false information.
Yeah.
Which is false.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Maybe, I don't know.
Yeah.
You never know about big data. But
Yeah.
the thing is, I'm saying is that if Facebook now has the ability or Instagram has the ability to fact check everything and say this is false information, but what I'm saying is that you got two sides who are giving their statistics and their points to support their narrative. How do you get a social media platform to fact check this? Like, it's just not your responsibility. It's really the user's responsibility to do your proper research.
Yeah.
Not for a social media platform to restrict free speech and censor something and saying, oh, this is false information, when it could be true as well. We never know.
To be honest, Tommy, people are lazy.
It's
Like, for someone like you, it's easy to go do your research, but for most people, the reality is people don't want to do the research. Like their Instagram, like that 1 minute, that story, that post is directly where they're getting the information. So if they see that post, that's where they're taking the information. They're sharing that. They're sharing that to their network. They got 1,000 followers. Nah, another 100 is sharing, and that and it goes so forth. But Ebony, what's your thoughts on social media? Because I know you utilize it a lot, but in different ways. So what are your thoughts on it?
In different ways. Yeah. So I guess the context is I work for a clothing company.
Yeah.
And I make money off of social media.
True.
And so, watching that documentary was kind of confronting, because it was like, it did talk about all the misinformation, but for me, I guess it really hit home when it was talking about like young girls' self-esteem and anxiety and depression and suicide rates going up. Do you know what I mean? And on one hand, I have to portray like this, like I dress really cool all the time and I'm out doing fun things and like whatever. I'm like, that's one side of the spectrum. But then on the other side, I have been on the other side of it where I'm looking at social media and it's making me feel self-conscious and it's making me not feel very nice, and I'm wanting to get off of it. Do you know what I mean? So for you to be like, I can just look at someone's social media and not judge them or whatever, that to me is crazy.
Tina's a rare case.
Look,
That's
I'm telling
crazy.
you now, like, and I know this is crazy.
Crazy.
This is my norm. Like in terms of social media, if I feel like, for example, I always thought to myself, I had this from a young age. If I felt like if I was ever being like cyberbullied or anything like that, my mentality is I'll just log off.
Head off the shit, man.
Like that's always been my mentality, because at the end of the day, like I'll go back to real life, Because I was thinking the other day, I was like, if you think about our generation, we're really like the trial. We're the guinea pigs for social media.
Yeah.
If you really think about it, like we grew up, we were in high school, sort of during the MySpace, Bebo, Facebook, Instagram.
Yeah.
We've Snapchat. Like we actually spend the majority of our adolescent to young 20s in that period of time when all those platforms were created.
Yeah.
So do they really have the data or the information in what are the effects of social media in that short period of time?
So I guess, okay, so if I was to look back and think about what I used, like Bebo, the worst thing on Bebo that you could have is like a top 10 friends. The love as well.
The love.
Giving the love.
Crazy,
You know what I mean?
that,
Like you've got a limited amount. Who are you going to give it to? That was like a bit of a thing.
Was fucked, bro.
Right? The other thing was the top 10 friends. You might be a bit self-conscious about that. That wasn't that bad.
That's a fact.
That wasn't that bad though, right?
And people would put you like number 9. and you're just like, yo, so it's like that.
Like you can
Every
drag
week,
it and
you
shit,
drop levels.
Yeah,
what the
right.
fuck?
That could have like played with you a little bit. It wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Then you had things like what do you have, like Snapchat, the like, I don't really use it anymore, but you had like the top friend or whatever.
Yeah.
That was okay. MySpace brought in likes. That got a little bit more, Tumblr, I love Tumblr. That was fine. That was cool. The one thing I remember that affected me was Formspring. Formspring, do you remember that? Formspring was people could anonymously ask you questions.
Formspring, yeah. That was a Lydia.
People kill themselves over that shit.
Yeah,
It's like, what the fuck?
That was the beginning of me being like, I don't think you can just turn it off and it's fine.
Yeah.
Like, I remember being 14 or something and someone sent me a question. I so vividly remember this. I was getting all these nasty questions, but the one that stuck with me was someone was like, you're really pretty or whatever, but your nose, there's just something so weird about your nose. And for ages, I was like, is there?
Yeah.
And I was weirdly self-conscious. I was like, is there something wrong with my nose? Like, I don't... And I just it just played on my head. So if I was a 14-year-old and had Instagram and had all of these other things, bro, I'm telling you, as someone who makes the content, and I understand that I will spend an hour putting makeup on, figuring out the outfits, planning where I'm going to take. I know it's fake. I get it.
Yeah.
I understand that. But if I look at someone else's profile for too long, if I go on Kylie Jenner's profile and I'm in the middle of a pandemic and she's flying to Paris, I'm a bit like, I'm comparing myself. That doesn't sit right with me. That's making me. Why wasn't I born with that much wealth? Like, why is her body so perfect? And like, should I start getting surgery? Should I like be sexier? Like it does play on your head. As much as I know it's fake, as much as I'm creating the content being like, I've just got to take this photo for money. It's not real. It's still gonna play on your head.
Because
I
you're
reckon.
around it.
Like,
You're in it half the time, right? Because you're always on your phone. So like, even if you know for a fact that this ain't reality, but you're still stuck in that moment. You're thinking about it.
Yeah.
Until you shut the phone off, it's like, oh, this is all fucking cap. It's really like, because you know what's tripped out? Have you guys seen the photo of those social media influencers in that private jet? That fake studio?
Yeah.
It's like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? It's just a worn down basement and then they got the set of the private jet and they're taking from that angle.
Yeah. But you know, I love the innovation.
Like,
but like for me, and a big part of you were saying, like, I've got like some nieces. And they're like around that age, like 14, 15 and shit.
Yeah.
So I'm like that weird uncle, man. I'm sussing shit up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I set them social dilemma because I just wanted them to make sure
to realize that this shit's not real.
Yeah, no, but but also the internet could be a great place where you can put out your art, you can make a lot of money, you can connect to some great people, to connect to your family. But at the same time, don't allow someone's like definition of perfection to affect who you are as an individual. And when it's time to like put your phone down. Do you know what I mean? I do sort of think your approach is a bit simplistic. You reckon?
I do. For you to be like, if someone cyberbullies me, I can just put my phone down. Yeah. Maybe you're just very strong-minded person. I don't know, because do you know what it is as well? I think that I'm forced to be on social media. Okay. With what I do, I can't just put it down. Yeah. I can to a certain degree. I can like not look at it or whatever. But I feel like when you're in the like the media or you're an influencer or whatever it is, and you're relying on this to book jobs, to work with brands, I can see you smiling. But when you're relying on all of these things and you have to use it and you're frequently on it, I feel like people. It's this weird sort of sense of entitlement that people get of like, I want to see what you're doing today. Like, I'm going to give you direct feedback. When you post a photo, I'm going to directly give you some feedback. I don't like those. I don't like your hair lighter, actually. You should go back to me. Bro, I uploaded a photo the other day and I had a person tag their mate in my comment section and say thoughts.
What the fuck?
In what world do you have people? Yeah. Imagine we sat in a room and I said, Tommy, thoughts?
And you put it. Exactly.
Do you know what I mean? Fair enough if you want to talk about someone behind their back, behind closed doors. That's fine. I'm getting notified that someone wants their mate to talk about me and like get their feedback. Of course it's going to play with your head. I don't know. Like maybe you just don't post that frequently. Maybe, I don't know. I've had some very personal messages.
Yeah, I think that's my issue because like with social media, I think as a person, I just don't play that shit. Like I just don't play the whole thing. Like for example, if me and you were having a conversation and we're talking on Instagram,
Yeah.
like, and I would just probably tell you call me because I just don't play social media, and especially in your case, you know, if I'm directly offended at someone or someone tries to play that, I would want to have a conversation with them. So that's why in my mind I realized that I shouldn't play on that stuff. You know what I mean? Because I know myself and I know my character, and it's probably just better that I separate myself from that because it doesn't align with who I am as a person. So I'm starting to get conflicted because I'm with you as well. Because sometimes I'm forced to be on the DMs.
Exactly.
Like, I'm forced to be having to look for people.
Yeah.
I'm forced to having to like understand what the hell is going on.
Totally.
You know? So I get that too.
Yeah, and it's like even if you shut the phone off, you know that this is what someone's thinking of me.
Yeah.
And if you say some wrong shit and you're in the middle of getting cancelled, and you turn off your fucking...
Turning off your phone's not going to do it.
Your phone's not going to do much because when you see that dude... This happened to me. When you see that dude, the guys be like, man, fuck you. You know what I mean? It is real life as well, as much as you turn it off and try and ignore it. And
absolutely. As much as you can just walk away, it's like going to play in your head for sure.
And even go back to social dilemma, I encourage people to try this as well. It's like go on your Instagram, tap on your stories, and then click right twice. Yeah. Every second story is an advertisement.
And it's personalized to you.
Because if you're at home, try that right now.
Yeah. Every advert you see is because of what you've been looking at or what you've been searching. And that's what I mean by big data. They personalize the shit out of your experience, man, just to keep you on that page. It's like the other day, like, I don't know, you ever just talk not on your phone, you're talking about Nike or some shit, and then you go on your story and then somehow I'm looking at Nike now, like on my ads. Like, what the fuck's going on there?
How are they that quick?
How are they listening to me already? You know?
Yeah.
Or, you know, like, or you go through your explore page, like you've been looking at, I don't know, girls, let's say. And next thing you know, it's just like all Asian girls on the explore page. It's like, what's going on, man? Like one photo.
Yeah, my phone page is wild, bro.
Personalizes the shit out of your experience.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's feeding your addiction. You know what I mean?
I think it's a big part of it.
That
is
really
addiction.
feeds the addiction where like people are just going through the shit. Like, oh, all this content is relevant at that time, but I'm thinking. And it's just stuck on that phone for ages, man.
Yeah.
And that's just what's hard.
I just think that we are definitely the trial generation of social media.
Yeah.
We like they just chucked social media, they tried all this shit and just threw it out to us. And they're like, yo, figure it out.
I mean, I don't think they necessarily thought it was going to be as negative of a thing as, but like in the document, the guy was sort of saying like, you know, I'm laughing, but it's so not funny. It's quite serious. The guy who made the like button on Facebook was saying, you know, we wanted it to be a thing of like sharing love and positivity, and now it's affecting people's self-esteem if they're not getting enough likes. You know.
Yeah.
And I can see that like Instagram's doing things like they've got the mute, they've got like that feature where it's like you've seen everything for today.
Yeah.
I just think though, like it's almost like the building's on fire and they've just been like, here, have that.
Yeah, some water. It's already on fire.
Figure it out. Like, do you know what I mean? It's not. It's bit too little, too late, maybe.
Yeah. It's stripped out how like you validate. Some people validate your self-worth based on the likes you have, or based on the views that you got, or based on the shares. It's I don't know, man. I feel like that's just mental health wise. It's not good. Especially for young teens, because for us, our people our age, we don't give a fuck. Like the more time I realize now, like social media is just social media to me, man. I gotta do. At the end of the day, I gotta work. I gotta make money, and that's just how it is. But like,
that's life, man.
Yeah, that's life. I'm a grown-ass man. I ain't gonna fucking be on my phone half the time. But like, most people, like, you know, especially young teens these days, I'm not getting enough likes, so they feel insecure about it. Like, fuck, I don't know what's going on, man. But
all right, peoples. Much love. we say it's gonna be 30 minutes. Done. What's the time?
Like an hour.
Hour
and a half.
Gosh.
Fuck.
Okay, cool. Hey, man. All right. I cut that down.
You can't cut it.
I can't cut that down. Okay, cool. But anyways, Ebony, we appreciate you.
Thank you so much for having me.
You.
Thank you. Thanks for coming on here, Ebony.
Appreciate y'all, man.